Do you believe there are people willing to risk their lives just to catch seafood? That's no exaggeration. In the US, commercial fishing is ranked among the most dangerous occupations, with a fatality rate more than 28 times higher than the average for all industries. Nevertheless, many still venture out to sea because a successful fishing trip can bring in millions of dollars. In today's video, we will explore the journey of catching the world's most expensive seafood, where every net is a gamble between life and death. Alaskan king crab is one of the world's most beloved seafoods due to its delicious, buttery, soft meat. The journey of catching king crab for fishermen here begins in October and lasts until January of the following year. During this time, the Bering Sea becomes harsher than ever, with temperatures dropping to minus 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, fishermen must use commercial fishing vessels tens of meters long, equipped with hydraulic systems to withstand the bone-chilling cold of this sea. The main weapon in the battle with king crab is large crab traps, usually made of metal or steel mesh. Each vessel can carry from 150 to 300 traps. To lure crabs into the traps, fishermen use fresh fish as bait, typically herring or pollock. The traps are lowered to the ocean floor in areas with abundant king crab populations, typically at depths of 400 to 500 feet. Each trap location is carefully marked with a buoy floating on the surface. After about 1 to 2 days of soaking the traps on the seabed, the fishermen return to the same spot to pull them up. They have to use hydraulic winches to pull, as these metal traps can weigh up to 800 pounds. When the traps are pulled onto the deck, the crew carefully opens them to retrieve the cork crabs, then sorts them by size and quality right on deck. Although it sounds simple, this job carries an extremely high risk of injury, as fishermen can get caught in the coiling lines or be swept off the deck by rough waves. Not only that, shifts lasting 18 to 20 continuous hours, with very little rest, further exhaust them and make it difficult to stay alert. Precisely because of these harsh challenges, Alaskan king crab fishing is considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. The fatality rate for crab fishermen is about 80 times higher than the average worker's fatality rate. However, these dangers also come with worthy rewards. King crab is a premium seafood retailing for $50 to $60 per pound at high-end restaurants in the US. With a successful fishing season, just one vessel can bring in millions of dollars. Salmon is also a famous aquatic species in Alaska. This state supplies 95% of the total salmon production in the entire United States. When salmon schools begin to gather near river mouths to prepare for their spawning journey, that's when fishing vessels come into play. The most common method currently is using purse seines. A smaller boat will pull one end of the net away from the main vessel to create a perimeter, while the main vessel moves around the fish school, forming a large net bag that encloses the entire school. This entire process takes only about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on weather conditions and the size of the fish school. Once the net is closed, fishermen pull the line at the bottom to prevent fish from escaping, then work together to bring each batch of fish onto the boat. In this way, they can catch tons of salmon in a single outing. The salmon are then immediately transferred to cold seawater tanks or ice tanks to maintain absolute freshness. However, the sea is not always generous to humans. Rising ocean temperatures due to climate change have altered salmon behavior. They migrate along different routes, which are harder to predict and find than before. Not only that, salmon fishing boats also have to contend with rough waves and harsh weather in the Bering Sea. As a result, salmon catches in 2024 reached just over 101 million fish, a 56% decrease compared to the previous year and the lowest level since 1985. Not only did production decline, but the total value of the catch also plummeted. reaching only $34 million, $94 million lower than in 2023. Next, we will go to Maine, known as the lobster capital of the United States. Lobsters are the heaviest crustaceans in the world, capable of reaching a length of 25 inches and a weight of over 44 pounds. The lobster fishing season opens on the last Monday of November. To catch lobsters, two types of traps are commonly used: traditional wooden traps and steel wire traps. Bait, usually salted herring or fish scraps, is placed in a bait bag inside the trap, then lowered to the seabed with a long rope connected to a floating buoy on the surface. On a fishing trip, fishermen can carry dozens of traps, even over 40 traps at once. After the traps are lowered to the seabed, fishermen will wait about 2 to 3 days before starting to harvest the lobsters. They use specialized hooks to pull the ropes and bring each trap onto the boat. Immediately after, fishermen will inspect and sort the lobsters. Only those of legal size are kept. Despite the fishermen's efforts, lobster production in the U.S. has continuously declined sharply in recent years, from nearly 111 million pounds in 2021 to about 86.1 million in 2024. This is the lowest level in the past 15 years. The main reason comes from changes in habitat, as lobsters tend to migrate to colder waters north of Canada. Additionally, increasingly frequent large storms also make each fishing trip more difficult. Despite these challenges, the people of Maine are still striving to stay at sea. The state has enacted many regulations to manage sustainable lobster fishing. Each trap must have a valid tag accompanied by a separate license. Lobsters with a carapace length under 3.3 inches and egg-bearing female lobsters must be released back into the ocean to protect breeding stock. In addition, Maine also completely prohibits fishing with bottom trawlers or divers to preserve the marine ecosystem. Our next destination on this journey is California, home to the largest squid fishing industry in terms of both production and revenue. Squid often appear near piers, docks, and areas with abundant seagrass or seaweed. On a small scale, the method of squid jigging with a rod is still popular. They drop colorful artificial lures to depths of 5 to 35 feet, then patiently wait for squid to bite. When the rod shakes strongly, they can use an additional winch or a small reel to quickly pull the squid onto the boat. On a commercial scale, most squid are harvested using modern trap systems. Squid traps are strung along a line and dropped into the sea. At night, the vessel turns on powerful LED lights to attract squid. This light acts as a natural lure, making it easy for squid to swim to and enter the trap suspended in the water column. The squid will be pulled onto the boat by a net system. Fishermen quickly harvest them and put them into baskets in the boat's hold. Most of California's squid production is exported to China, but the squid fishing industry here is threatened by the trade war. Fishermen refuse to go out to sea because the purchase price is not enough to cover costs, while processors also refuse to pay high prices. Although in early May, the US and China reached an agreement to significantly reduce tariffs, the price of squid still saw a 25% decrease compared to last year. Should California fishermen seek new export markets instead of relying too heavily on China, or should they wait for the tariff situation to stabilize? Given the overexploitation of marine resources, some farms have shifted to aquaculture, including abalone. This is not only a sustainable solution for the environment, but also opens up a market with great potential with an expected growth rate of up to 18.6% annually during the 2025 to 2031 period. To farm abalone, first parent individuals are selected and stimulated to reproduce through artificial fertilization. When they reach a size of 0.4 to 0.8 inches, which is after about 4 to 6 months, the young abalone are transferred to larger tanks or sea cages to continue growing. Their main diet consists of algae and marine plants, and the water source must be changed once a day to maintain ideal cleanliness. Depending on specific conditions, it takes 2 to 5 years for abalone to reach commercial size, which is about 2.8 to 7 ounces. When harvesting, specialized knives with thin flat blades are used to gently separate each abalone from the rock or plastic surface they cling to. Then they are carefully sorted by weight and size. Before leaving the farm, abalone are placed in a cleaning tank containing cold water for 2 to 3 days to remove impurities. Once completed, they will be transported to markets or processing plants. It can be seen that behind every luxurious dish on the banquet table are thousands of hours spent at sea by fishermen. Do you think the value of these seafood dishes is worth the dangers that fishermen have to face? Let's discuss in the comments section. The journey of fishermen on the open sea is always fraught with danger, but is also filled with excitement of a potential massive catch. Here are some of the most incredible fishing moments by fishermen. Before casting their nets, fishermen pay close attention to signs such as seabirds or the movement of smaller fish schools often hunted by tuna. They use large pair-in nets designed to encircle the entire school of fish. These nets can span hundreds of feet in length and reach heights of around 170 feet. Once the net is fully developed, the opening is drawn tight, forming a massive bag that traps the tuna inside. This process can take several hours. Finally, the fishermen use cranes with high-powered winches to pull the nets in and bring the fish closer to the vessel. After being hauled aboard, the tuna are flash frozen at temperatures of minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower to ensure optimal quality. Red snapper, which often dwell near the seabed, require fishing crews to target areas with strong currents and abundant food sources. During the net hauling process, fishermen monitor the tension closely, making adjustments as needed to prevent the net from tearing. They must also handle the fish carefully to avoid damaging their skin or meat, which is critical for fresh market sales or export. Hauling in a full catch can take considerable time and physical effort. Modern cranes and winch systems are employed to lift the nets aboard. To ensure freshness, red snapper are immediately stored in cold storage at temperatures ranging from 32 to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Currently, the pollen fishing season is in full swing in the western Bering Sea. Around 79 Russian fishing vessels are operating in the area, collectively catching over 2.87 billion pounds of pollock in the first half of 2024. Pollock are typically caught at 3 to 3.5 nautical miles offshore, at depths of 600 to 900 feet. Fishermen lower their nets into deeper water layers as pollock migrate closer to the seabed. They maneuver the nets from both sides of the vessel to encircle the schools with precision and speed. Pollock catchers in the Bering Sea often include king crabs. Fishermen must quickly sort the crabs to maintain the best quality of the fish meat. Catching fish of smaller sizes presents unique challenges. These fish are difficult to clean and must be preserved quickly. If exposed to sunlight on the ship's deck for too long, they will lose their freshness. In such cases, freezing is the most effective method of preservation. Additionally, quickly and precisely retrieving the nets is critical. Small fish are delicate and can easily be damaged or escape if not handled promptly. Modern fishing vessels employ non-damaging nets and adhere to strict environmental protection regulations, minimizing bycatch of other species. Small fish are typically transferred directly to cold storage without additional processing. Some advanced fishing vessels are equipped with nitrogen or CO2 preservation systems, helping to maintain the fish's freshness for an extended period. The global annual mackerel catch amounts to around 8 billion pounds, with major fishing regions including the North Atlantic and Northern Pacific. When mackerel begin migrating along the deep water edges of western Scotland, large fishing vessels head out to sea. Each trip can last up to a month, yet the quality of the fish is preserved. The global mackerel market reached a value of $1 million in 2023. Modern fishing vessels and stringent harvesting practices are key factors driving the industry's growth. Fishermen have turned tuna fishing into a survival game on the open seas. They locate schools of tuna and set massive traps. The tuna, unaware of the encircling nets, continue swimming until it's too late. Once the nets are hauled, the entire school is brought aboard. Tuna are lifted onto the fishing vessels using cranes and conveyor systems. To maintain quality, they are immediately stored in cold chambers, preserving their freshness. Fishermen often venture far offshore for weeks at a time to track schools of tuna. These fish are fast swimmers and can travel long distances, making net deployment and retrieval particularly challenging. Furthermore, fishermen must work in harsh conditions, ensuring the tuna are kept at ultra-low temperatures to maintain quality. Compared to troll fishing, catching jiangmang anchovies requires significantly more labor. Anchovies are caught using a method called long bag nets. This technique involves a trap with long poles and netting placed on the shallow seabed. Fishermen wait for the anchovies, which tend to move together near the water's surface, especially during the spring and summer migrations along the coast. When the tide rises, the anchovies become trapped in the nets. A distinctive feature of this trap is the secondary inner net, which prevents the fish from escaping. This is a traditional anchovy fishing method commonly placed along the southern coast of South Korea. South Korea's mackerel season lasts from October to March. During this time, as water temperatures rise, mackerel migrate to the western seas, causing their numbers to peak. In 2023, South Korea harvested approximately 330 million pounds of mackerel. Once the catch is hauled aboard using cranes, the mackerel are transferred onto conveyor belts. The fish are then minimally processed and stored in cold water chambers to maintain their freshness. To ensure a successful catch, fishermen often use large fishing vessels equipped with GPS systems to locate schools of mackerel before deploying nets. Additionally, each vessel carries ice to preserve the fish's freshness until it reaches shore. Next, let's look at the vessels used to catch halibut, a species harvested commercially and consumed worldwide. With their flat bodies, halibut are relatively easy to catch as they tend to stay close to the seabed and are slower to escape than other species. As the vessel moves slowly across the ocean, troll nets sweep along the seabed, capturing the halibut. However, this method often pulls up other marine species. To address this, certain regions impose restrictions on trolling equipment, such as requiring specific mesh sizes to minimize bycatch. Taiwan benefits from its strategic location along the migratory routes of various tuna species, making it an ideal hub for the development of oceanic tuna fishing. Dozens of bluefin tuna emerge at the surface, thrashing violently until exhausted. Fishermen take advantage of this moment, tying the fish by their tails and hauling them aboard. This encircling method of fishing is considered one of the oldest forms of industrial fishing in the world. It is particularly effective for catching large quantities of tuna while maintaining high-quality standards. This approach is tailored to meet the stringent demands of major markets such as Japan, the United States, and Europe. Did you know that during Alaska's salmon season, over 150 million salmon are harvested with a total weight exceeding 742 million lb? This generates an average profit of $230 million, with peak years reaching nearly $800 million. The salmon industry in Alaska is the most vital fishing sector. Harvesting and processing large quantities of salmon is tough work, but it's worth the effort. Every year, thousands of fishermen eagerly await summer to earn their livelihoods by fishing and processing Alaska salmon. This is South Korea's largest cutlass fish catch of the year. Cutlass fish are caught not only in autumn, but also throughout the winter. Fishermen here brave icy ocean winds as they venture offshore. Battling the cold on their swaying boats, they haul in the fish in the nets. Sometimes they lift and lower the nets dozens of times a day, defying the harsh winter winds. Since countless fish must be sorted quickly to ensure freshness, this task requires a team of workers to act simultaneously. Marine can be caught using various fishing techniques depending on the location. In Indonesia, fishermen often use nets. Once a suitable spot is identified, the nets are deployed and left submerged for 4 to 6 hours. Fishermen then retrieve the nets to inspect the catch. With luck, they might encounter massive marlin. Due to the weight of these fish, 4 to 5 fishermen often work together to pull them in. The team coordinates carefully to subdue the marlin and remove it from the net. For safety, they may cut off its sharp bill, an intimidating weapon that could injure them. Afterwards, they rinse the fish and remove debris. In preparation for preservation, troll fishing for pollock takes place throughout most of autumn, winter, and spring. The most profitable period is during the pollock season, which typically runs from January to April. The integration of modern technology with traditional fishing techniques has enhanced efficiency and sustainability. In just 2 hours of trolling, fishermen can haul up 100 tons, depending on the season and fish density in the area. When using the hydraulic equipment, the entire net lifting process takes less than 30 minutes. This system not only speeds up the process, but also minimizes damage to the fish, ensuring a high product quality. Additionally, the number of crew members required for fishing operations has been reduced from around 14 people to just 6. Fire fishing is a method developed by the indigenous people of Taiwan. This unique fishing technique is primarily used to supply sardines to fish source factories. Fishermen spend up to 6 hours a night at sea, catching 60 to 80 pounds of sardines, earning around $4,500 per night. Under the cover of darkness, a small group of Taiwanese fishermen set sail off the northeastern coast. They light a fire atop a bamboo pole and wait for the fish to gather. The bright flames serve as a nighttime lure. Like a magnet, hundreds of sardines leap out of the water, drawn to its brilliant light until their fishermen haul their nets aboard.